Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Lunch. Just setting up here. Hey there. Thanks for joining. This is Food Talk TV. I'm Kitchen Bear SF, formerly known as Frank underscore Mentor SF, one of the creators. Hey there. And I generally go live on Thursdays and I make my lunch that I intend to eat later today. Today, though, the difference is what I'm making is not for my lunch, but it's for my dinner tonight when the boys come home. So um, not only is it retro, these are all recipes from the 60s and early 70s, but we're going to be making them for dinner. I'll be there. Hey there. Wow, all of you are jumping in so fast. Hi, it's great to see you all. Just waiting to see who's going to join me in the box today. I think it's Jess. And while you're popping in, please, I see Andrea. Hey there, how are you? Feel free to jump in and say hi, introduce yourselves. If you're new, our food channel, Food Talk TV, is live every single day. There's a different creator going live. We've got a website foodtalktv.com. Many of our recipes show up there, and we're on all the social platforms. We also have a Wednesday members cooking school. Hello, Pennsylvania. So lots of opportunities, lots of different flavors and styles and techniques. I do Thursday lunches, and today I'm going to be doing some retro meals, kind of brought up to speed, and that's what I'm planning to do today. And we'll be starting in a minute, I guess. We're pretty close, huh? Yeah, 2 minutes. Just setting up. So we got Phil, Pennsylvania in the house. Who else are we? Who else do we got in the room? Let me see where you're coming from. And really, if you're new to the room and you're planning to stick around and watch the madness that will ensue over my lunch, let me know if you're new and follow us along. It's great. I'm Kitchen Bear SF, as you can see. Michigan. I love Michigan. I have so much fun. I work a lot in Michigan, and it's beautiful. Um, well, I haven't been there in the winter. I avoid that, but I love the spring and the fall there. Hey, Karen, Danielle, I see you. Hello. And I have, so please follow us up above. Keep you in mind that any gifts that you send for Food Talk TV, it goes to the running of the website and all those elements. They don't go to the individual creators. If you can always gift our creator team separately. Minnesota. My old roommate in college was from Minnesota. I went to visit him once in the winter. Don't ask me why I chose the winter. Ah, there's Jess. Great. Just Jess is going to join us today. Hey there.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm digging the specs today.
Thanks. Yeah, they're my cooking glasses. Folks, feel free to share the live. Share our creators. Jess is one of our team of Food Talk creators, and we're gonna kick off. So I got a couple recipes today. Oh boy! So the first recipe I'm gonna do is I've got to start a cherry sauce because we're gonna make cherry focaccia bread.
That
Yes.
sounds stunning.
Most people think focaccia as a savory, but actually, let's face it, any kind of dough, bread product is really just a mechanism. So, this is a recipe I first discovered in the early 70s. It's been updated many times. There are certain foods that I'm a fanatic on, I will tell you. I love cherries and I love watermelon. So, this is a cherry version. I've made this with grapes, especially. I'm just taking a few seeds out from lemons that didn't catch. I've made this with grapes. It's really good, especially with some of the particular varietal grapes that are great. I've made this with other in-season fruit. So first thing I did is last night. You need it either overnight or at least 4 hours. I took, in this case, they're just simple old frozen bags of cherries, and I added lemon juice of a whole lemon, zest of a whole lemon, and sugar. Now you can use a sugar substitute if you like. I let that sit. I stirred it 1 or 2 times overnight, and I left it alone. Now I left it in the refrigerator to sort of marinate, like people do oftentimes with strawberries. And then I took it out early this morning just to get it a little bit less cold. And now what I'm going to do is I need to cook this down. That's why I want to get this on while we're starting, so that it'll cook. I need to thicken it, and it'll take it could take maybe 15-20 minutes because there we go. I want it to bubble, thicken, and get really nice and caramelized and a rich syrup. I might have used an extra bag of cherries too because I might want extra, I don't know, maybe for ice cream later tonight, or I don't know, could be any number of things. You could add vodka or tequila and make it a little afternoon cocktail, things like that.
Maybe some spicy cherries, no big deal.
Yeah. Oh my God. Spicy cherries. And I love adding a little extra spice. Spicy cherries are great. Yes. You could, cook this down and then use it on any number of things. It also makes a really great salad dressing. So,
Oh, yes.
or, and here's things, cherries in this, if you throw it into the crock pot with beef, incredible. Absolutely. There's something about beef and cherries that I like, whereas apples and grapes I tend to use more toward pork.
I would have
All
never
right.
put those two together. That sounds brilliant.
All right. So I have my little simple sauce. This is just the juice of one lemon, 2 bags of cherries, or you could use fresh cherries. Just got to pit them, which is about, I think it was 24 ounces. So you could almost do 24 ounces to 16 ounces to one lemon, the zest of that lemon, and a little less than how much sugar? I didn't use the full sugar on these, but it's gonna be about, I want to say it's somewhere in the vicinity of a 2/3 of a cup. And I used a little bit less, since 'cause I like the sourness more than I like the overt sweetness. So that's gonna be the first thing out of the way. The next thing is, and then as soon as this simmers, I'm going to throw it in the oven and get it baked. And that's why I want to get that out of the way. The next dish we're going to make today is something called grandmother's potatoes. Anybody ever hear of that recipe? This is it's from a cookbook in 1962. I found this recipe. I have made it several different ways because I was inspired that I was going to figure out how to make this recipe work, and I finally got it going. So, grandmother potatoes is a combination of 3 of my favorite foods: potatoes, bacon, butter, garlic, and a little grated cheese, just to add to the mix. So the first thing you're going to do is you want to get your potatoes. You don't want super big potatoes, and you don't want really thick skinned. If you get like a russet or an Idaho potato, peel them. These are thin skinned, so I don't bother peeling them. Then you're going to get your core. You need an apple core or pineapple core, whatever this is called, and you're going to just make a little rotation, put it all the way through, and then right down to your cutting board, and then pull it back. Just like that. You've got the core of the potato, which you're going to use. You're not throwing that away. And then a hollow potato. Now, I will tell you, this recipe, when it cooks, will take up to an hour, depending on the kind of potatoes you use. I cook them at about 375. The original recipe used that, and I tried a couple different temperatures, and that seems to be the one that works the best.
I'm so intrigued right now with coring the potatoes. My mind is blown.
Oh, wait, it's going to get blown even more. Oh, I have to go to the refrigerator. I left the main part. Want to tell them a little bit, give them an update on welcome, everybody?
Yeah, everybody, welcome to Food Talk TV, the channel on TikTok that goes live every single day with a collective of foodies and chefs and just like minded individuals who come together loving food. We are also available at your convenience on YouTube and Facebook and Pinterest and Twitch and Instagram. Anywhere you want to find us, we're probably there. And you can find the written recipes that you see on Food Talk TV Live right there for you, as well as profiles on all the creators that make all these videos for you.
Thank you. And you got it. Okay, there's something about sugar and cherries or any fruit that's been sitting in sugar as it's cooking to thicken that you just kind of want to take a spoon and um, a bib and just dig in. My mom used to say growing up that she would make summer pound cakes and she would put sugared, warmed fruit that she would then cool and pour it on. And she would give me a thin slice of cake because I was really interested in this part more.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So you've got a hollowed out potato. Guess what's going in the potato? Your absolute favorite
Oh,
country style summer breakfast sausage.
oh my God, yes.
Yes. Now, you can do this with regular ground sausage. Yes, you can do that. I have done it. I tried it the first time. And it's one of the reasons is I use the core here, but you can also use just a knife and make a smaller. If you just want to use single ones, when you put the sausage in, you actually want to smush it together because breakfast sausage doesn't have a skin. Smush it together so that it gets a nice compact. I did one. I did a double just because I'm a little special that way.
It's going to be
And
incredible. I can only imagine. I've
and I
never
will
seen
tell you,
anything like this.
this is a vintage. Let me wait. I have a rag over here that is wet and with desanitizer, so I just want to grab that so I can wipe my hands. All right. So um, the quality of this flavor depends on the quality of the breakfast sausage. I will tell you. So if you wanna go and use whatever breakfast sausage is your favorite that you like. Like I love sage in my breakfast sausage. I am very brand specific if I'm going to eat them. Don't use generic. Don't use, use the one that's going to have some flavor because that is the base of your flavor for these initially. All right. What did I do with my, oh, here we go. So then, because there's just not enough right now in here.
Yes.
Bacon. And I'm like, as soon as I say the word bacon, the dog looked up and I'm like, yeah, not for you. All
Hi,
right.
Deanna. Um,
So
Dancing Puppy says it's like a kolache with potato versus bread.
it could be that that's a good idea. I never thought of it that way, but you're right. I like that idea. I'll have to think about that. So I am wrapping the bacon around the potato. Now, can you use? I'm using par cooked bacon because it's what I had handy. I have a really bad habit of forgetting to use all the bacon in the house, and I hate getting not having it. So I use the shelf stable one. This is really even better with smoked bacon that you've got from the store because it stretches and it usually will wrap around twice. But ultimately, what you're going for is a bacon covered bomb.
It almost looks like a pimento olive, just giant.
Yeah, kind of. I agree with that. This is the treat. I mean, this is This is designed as a great side dish. It's fun. It's family friendly. It takes a few minutes to prep, but then you're really good to go. All right. So I put them on metal skewers. If you were going to use wooden skewers, you want to make sure you give them a good soaking in water for 15, 20 minutes. I like the skewer effect because what I do is I put them in my pan so that they don't sit in the water. You're going to pour water in the bottom of the pan. Remember the cores? They're getting some bacon love too. Just like that. And I lay them down, but these I'm going to actually lay in the bottom of the pan. The original recipe just said lay bacon on the potato. I'm like, oh, I want more bacon. So I do it that way. I'm going to put them in the bottom of the pan, put the extra one in there, even though it has no bacon love. That's okay. And then I am going to put some room temperature water in the bottom of the pan. The reason you're putting the water, and I put just enough water to give me a nice balanced layer, is as it cooks, because they're going to cook close to 50 minutes to 40 to an hour. I want to make sure that first of all, that the bacon grease that's sort of melted doesn't flame up, but it uses the initial steam to help cook the bacon, cook the potatoes. So this is how it goes in the oven, uncovered, 375 degrees, 50 minutes to an hour, depending on your oven. About 10 minutes before it's done, after this is ready, I'm gonna make the sauce that goes on top.
Oh, there's a sauce. There's a sauce, everyone. Oh my
There
gosh.
is, and it's there are many different sauces that you could, play out on this. The sauce I am going to use is, oh, it's really difficult. Garlic, red pepper flakes, butter, and Parmesan cheese. And I make a little bit extra. I take these out 10 minutes before they're ready. I baste them and then I put them back in the oven and I keep the remainder. So as soon as they come out, I just pour it right on and it's ready to go. So yes, it takes a little bit of finesse. Yes, you have to get your hands dirty. But I'm telling you, for a recipe from the 60s, I could see why these are good. All right, let me show you what's happening in here. If you can see it, it's giving me foam. What I'm looking for when I pick up the syrup, can you see that? Is I'm looking for, when I rub my finger, is it clear? Here, let me do it this way. So I took the syrup on the spoon, and I'm looking to see that when I draw my finger, is the line that I create staying there, or is it still running? It's a little runnier than I want, so I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. And what we're going to do is, so this is a double rise normally. You would take your dough, you would let it rise the way you normally do. I might have started early. And then after it's risen once, you're going to put it in a 9 by 13 pan or whichever pan. I don't use this one in my cookie sheet pans because when I make focaccia, I want it to not be as wide. I want it to get high versus low. And this is given it's a rise here. And all I'm going to do now is my favorite part of focaccia bread. Put a little bit
Oh
more olive oil
yes.
on the top. Now there's olive oil underneath this because it don't want it to stick. I'm going to spread, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the fingers. You want to have bubbles in focaccia bread. You want to have these little dimples. That's the whole part of what makes this so good. So this is ready to go. And as soon as this gets a little bit thicker, I'm going to throw it in the oven. I am good right there.
Hi, Ashton. He's just getting his focaccia bread ready. Right now, he has some potatoes in the oven that are stuffed with sausage and wrapped in bacon. And he's going to do the holy, I'd say Trinity, but there's four aspects to his sauce on top: Parmesan, red pepper flakes, garlic, and butter. If you ask any Italian, you're going to find garlic, Parmesan, and red pepper flakes in their kitchen at all times.
I don't even put it away in the cabinet. I gave up. Those sit on the top of my oven these days. It's just that's where they live, and
A
I'm
hundred
fine with
percent,
it.
yeah. A
All
hundred
right. So
percent.
what I am doing, and I'm just being a little extra special because I want to make sure there's a little bit of cherry in every single bite.
They're cherries, Ashton. I mean, it would be
They're
good for blueberries too, but I feel like this is going to be extra special.
wild blueberries. This would be great, especially wild blueberries. You could make the blueberries with the lemon and the lemon zest and the sugar, simmer it down. With blueberries, because they're smaller, I would definitely make sure that you cook it a good 20 minutes. And where's my spoon? I'm just going to take a little bit more of the drizzle because I want to get some flavor everywhere.
I bet you it
Now,
smells absolutely fantastic in your kitchen right now.
now I have my focaccia bed ready for the oven.
It's gorgeous.
I don't
Oh
have
my gosh.
It does. It's interesting that the cherries have a almost savory flavor when they're done like this, even though they're sweet. They have this interesting under flavor. That's why I think cherries go so well with beef.
I still have to. I've never ever paired the two, and that's my next adventure, I think.
All right, so that is in the oven. That's going to take a good 20 minutes. I'm going to let it do its thing. I am going to take this, turn it off. Um, the potatoes are cooking. Now let's make dessert. Because the cherry breads I'm going to decide is not my dessert. Matter of fact, I already told the boys that there's a slim chance that there may not be any focaccia for them when they get home, which is why I have a second dough that I'm going to have to make available. All right, so this dessert is kind of just the epitome of a 70s no bake dessert. All right.
You can't go wrong
Frozen
with
whip
it.
topping. Nah, it's a frozen whip. I kept it frozen. It's been frozen. I only took it out just before we started. Goes in my pan here. Chilled condensed milk, sweetened condensed milk, but it's been chilled. I put it in the refrigerator overnight. So I will be honest, if no one was looking, I would totally lick this, even
Oh
though it would
yeah.
be all over my beard. Totally. This recipe, if you are not dairy, you can. This recipe is well. Here, hold on. I did this with. I can't help. I love condensed milk. This recipe works really, really well with the coconut version of sweetened condensed coconut milk too.
I didn't even know they made that.
Oh, I did a recipe on here for folks a couple months ago. It's a Maillé recipe she had done for Passover. It's you making a magic bar, but instead of using dairy, she used the coconut condensed milk, and it didn't taste overly coconut. But for people who like me, who really technically should not be eating as much dairy as I occasionally do, it was great. And now I will often think, ooh, how will this mix? So I've got condensed milk and Cool Whip or frozen topping. And just to give it some flavor, I'm going to make a guava passion fruit orange baked dessert. This has been
Yes.
frozen. I just took it out of the freezer. Now, the original recipe, this is very odd. The original recipe was actually for pink lemonade. Now, I don't know about your stores, But normally there is plenty of pink lemonade at the grocery store. I don't know what happened this week, but there was no pink lemonade. There was not even regular lemonade. So I was trying to debate, and 2 years ago, before COVID became, parts of our world, I had gone to Hawaii for the first time. Of all the places I've traveled all over the world in the United States, I always waited. Hawaii was something I wanted to do for whatever reason, um, for a special reason. So I finally got a chance to go in 2018. And I had really never had guava and passion fruit, and I just fell in love. So when I saw that there was a frozen concentrate, I said, that's what's going to be our frozen dessert today.
Yeah. Now I'm very familiar with this flavor. Um, as a teenager of the '90s, it was
Yes.
always guava passion fruit in the big Tupperware pitcher in the refrigerator. That
Yeah,
is,
it wasn't a flavor in our house, so it was sort of interesting. What I'm doing is I'm just folding this over. I'm not worried about that it's going to affect the whip element because it's going to go back in the freezer anyhow. So I want it to actually blend, but I'm using a spatula, a spatula shaped spoon because I don't want to actually turn it into a well whisked piece. Although I was looking at this originally, this recipe I found on a little slip that the power company used to send to people in their bills back. I had gotten a cache of recipes from a follower, and I've been collecting them for years. And I saw this in this woman's cookbook, and she had saved it and she had marked it, and it was from their local gas company. And I thought, oh, that sounds really good. I'm gonna make it. I made it one year with the pink lemonade, and then I said, oh, this is gonna be perfect for today.
I miss that. I miss where there was a recipe on everything.
Yes. I was looking at them the other night and I was saying, I was looking at several thinking, oh, this is interesting. And, looking where they come from and what do people save. All right. This is really well mixed. I'm going to give it one quick short mix. Now, this recipe, and I will share the recipe later on tomorrow. We've got all the recipes from Arik and Andrea. This week, we're going up.
Hey everyone,
All
right
right.
now he's got a cherry focaccia bread in the oven. He has some sausage stuffed potatoes, sausage stuffed and bacon wrapped potatoes in the oven too. And right now he has not announced what he's making, but it's looking really good.
So this is a no-bake guava passion fruit orange dessert. The original recipe is from the early 70s when in the 70s and 80s we didn't have email, so oftentimes recipes were clipped, and utilities would share recipes. And I found this in a cache of recipe cards and that were sent to me. Now, the original version for this is in a 8x8 square pan, and you use um, graham cracker crust. But nowadays we can buy a graham cracker pie, so I decided I'm doing it that way. But you could make your own graham cracker crust, super simple. Pulverize the hell out of a bunch of graham crackers, add a little butter, pound it in, and you're good to go. This doesn't need to be pre-baked. This is a no-bake dish. You could mix pudding in here if you wanted to. You could mix ice cream if you really wanted to. You could even add cream cheese on this, but I went with the original recipe. The only difference between this recipe that I'm doing for you and the original was they did it as a pink lemonade. Pink lemonade, as for some weird reason, was sold out of the store at the grocery store. I don't know why, so I decided to do this.
Do you freeze this or does it set in the refrigerator?
You can do either. The recipe, the actual recipe says 2 hours in the refrigerator. But I'll be honest, I did it I did it in the freezer as well, and it was fine. Now so you will see pictures of this for the final version. I'm not going to cut it because I do want it to really set, but this is what it's going to look like tonight.
That is
How
just
will I finish this after it's set? Now, the original recipe sprinkled breadcrumbs on it. What I'm going to do tonight when it's all done is I'm going to sprinkle slivered almonds on top and
ooh, yeah.
maybe some slices of orange because there's orange in it just to make it decorative. But you want to wait till this is really set. So if you have the room in your refrigerator, put it on the bottom rack, which is the coldest in the back. If you have room in your freezer, that's totally fine. But if you're going to do a pre-made pie and freeze it, put the plastic cover on it because the freezer smells I don't particularly care for.
I'm with you on that.
So
I did
this
not
one you
know
will
that the
not see
last
me.
shelf was the coldest. You just taught me something.
Well, it depends on the type of refrigerator as well. The back is always colder. Remember, warm air rises, so the bottom tends to be colder as well. My mother was a bit of a fanatic about her refrigerator growing up. So, all right, so this is done. It looks perfect. If I wanted to, I could grab a couple cherries and decorate it. You could do anything you want with it, really. But it's done. Your dessert in less than 15 minutes. The reason I love this dessert is you don't have to defrost anything. It's all right from the freezer, good to go, and it just needs to sit. You could do this, you get home from school, the kids are, you knock this together, and by the time dinner's ready, it's ready to serve. So I'm going to throw this in the refrigerator right now, check on our focaccia bread, and I'm going to come back for our last dish.
Hi, everybody. We're so excited that you're here with us today on Food Talk TV. Right now, we have Frank in the kitchen, and you can find him at Kitchen Bears on TikTok. He's making us focaccia bread, some potatoes, and a guava passion fruit dessert as well. You can find these recipes uploaded on foodtalktv.com as well as Pinterest and Facebook in the next few days. We're really excited to have you guys here. So if you guys want to tap the screen and get some hearts going, we can show Frank some love on his live.
Thank you. And what some of you who have been around for a minute will notice that I switched my profile. So I use traditionally I'm under Frank_Mentor SF, but I swap that out to well, I'm building in addition my food content a little bit more. So Kitchen Bear SF, you'll find more of my food recipes, but you can follow me anywhere. It doesn't really matter to me. But I'm trying to get back up to 1,000 for the new account so I can go live from there. All right. I've got potatoes in the oven. I've got pie in the refrigerator. I've got focaccia bread in the oven. I'm going to make a side dish that you can also serve as a bruschetta.
Ooh.
Jess, you might have had this growing up as a kid.
Let's see. My grandparents were from Sicily, so a little bit different region than you were from, but.
Right, because mine are from Calabria, and they're Calabrian. So I have here 2 cans of white beans that I've rinsed with cold water and put into a container so that I could save myself from cutting myself opening a can. White beans they're soft and they're creamy. So you have to be very careful when you're doing this recipe so that you don't completely annihilate this mix. Into the 2 beans, and this is a very traditional Italian recipe, I'll be honest. I am going to take fresh oregano, and this is why I like this recipe. Rarely does anybody these days cook with fresh oregano. We're so, it's just not one of those herbs, I think, that Americans think about as a fresh herb oftentimes. And even in my case, I always had it, I used it in tomato sauce and stuff, but I didn't always really ever think of it fresh. And then one day I was making something and a friend of ours, she had an abundance of fresh herbs and she sent me a whole bunch and I was like, what am I going to do with this? So I started to use it more in addition to parsley and some of the other flavors that I normally use. And I realized I liked it. It was, it had its own flavor. It's got a very aromatic smell when it's fresh, that I didn't anticipate. So I'm going to roughly chop fresh oregano to 2 cans of white beans. Now, the nice thing about this recipe, you could use real beans that you've soaked and boiled. But again, this is a quick summer lunch or side dish or appetizer that if you really wanted to, you could use dried oregano. It would work. Or you could even substitute parsley or cilantro. Who am I going to say no to, right? It's totally your choice. It's about a quarter of a cup of, actually, sorry, 2 tablespoons. Where is my 2 tablespoons? I'm trying to make sure I measure because people are really interested some days, so I'm trying to be better with my measuring. That's 1 tablespoon. A lot of us who cook growing up, I remember asking my mother for recipes, and she would say, well, just do this, 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 and this. And while it's funny and we make fun of it, it is how many people grew up. Or I remember there's a recipe I have from my grandmother, and I was trying it a couple different times, and it wasn't coming out quite right. And I happened to go, this was 10 or 12 years ago, and I happened to be back east, and I have one great aunt who's still alive. And I had mentioned I was trying to make that it was a cookie, and I was having problems with it. And she said, "Oh, let me show you." And she brings me in the kitchen and she pulls out a teacup. She goes, "This is what your grandmother means when she says 1 cup." She never
Oh,
had a traditional cup measure. So it dawned on me, if you're looking at a recipe from Australia or a vintage recipe, the cup may not be the actual cup that we think of it. So it may be whatever their cup portion was what they used as a standard.
yeah.
All right, about 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley are going to go in that. And now I am going to put some fresh tomato.
Yeah, my grandmother had a recipe for cartedales,
Mm-hmm.
and her recipe card just says flour, wine, and honey. Mix it with your hands.
Yeah. My grandmother, and it's funny, I was just looking at a recipe for tirales, which are those pepper biscuits, and it has wine in it, and it's that same kind of conversation of, really, what does this mean? And then of course you have to go down the Google track of finding them. Luckily, I have some of the older cookbooks. So I am just making a small dice of my tomato. You want to make sure you're using a really nice ripe tomato. This is a dish that's really great in the summer when you have super ripe tomatoes. Um, if they're not perfectly ripe, you might want to add a little more sugar into this just to help with the tomato sweetness. But you don't want big pieces. I want, fairly small pieces, especially since I'm going to serve this both as a side dish, but I'm also going to show you how you would make this as a bruschetta if you wanted to serve it that way, just to give you options. Because, anything can be, yes, there are traditional and very formal recipes, but you know what? If you like this as a topping on your bread, then do it.
Yeah.
There are some places that would use it this way.
I always say, I learned how to cook Italian food, but I'm an Italian American, so it has
Exactly.
evolved into whatever I want it to be.
It's funny. So a couple Saturdays ago, just before Easter, I made the Italian meat pie, the Easter meat pie, pizza rustica. And I was laughing because I was looking at a lot of, I did it live on live, which not many people do it live because it's a little time consuming. But one of the other creators who I follow saw it and she said, "Wow, that's really interesting. You didn't use any fresh herbs in yours." I said, "No, our recipe from my mother never used fresh herbs. There's so many herbs and spices in the preserved meats." She never put parsley or any fresh herbs. And I asked my mom about it that during Easter. I called her and I said, she goes, no, we never did. She goes, everything in there is either shelf stable or the way it came from her. And that's just her family's way. It's not right or wrong. It's just how theirs was. All right. So I've got one lemon chopped. I've got 2 tablespoons of oregano. I've got 2 cans of white beans. And now I'm going to put just a little bit of garlic, not a lot. In fact, you could actually swap out if you did not want to use garlic in this. But since I already was going to use any garlic on my for the sauce in a few minutes, I thought, what the heck? You could use garlic powder if you wanted to, just as easily. But it doesn't necessarily have because it's not cooked. The garlic is going to have a little bit more pungent flavor. If you don't like that, don't use it. Or use a garlic that's been slow roasted, and it'll just give you a lot of nice flavor. I'm just doing a super, super a fine mince here. As a matter of fact, one of the ways I did this once before is I did this fine mince with the garlic, and I added an anchovy, and I didn't tell anybody. Oh my God, it was so good, and everybody was trying to figure out what did I put in it because it tasted so different. I didn't tell. I was none of anybody's business but my own. So other seasonings in this is really super simple. It's about a quarter teaspoon or to your taste of salt.
Yeah, I tend to not tell people when I put any type of salted fish in my food because really it's just the salt that you want.
Exactly.
Nobody judges on Worcestershire sauce.
No, they don't think about it. It's like, all right. Now, I make my own Italian seasoning blend, so I'm just going to take a little pinch because it has a couple of the other dried herbs. The nice thing is when you're making something like this, when you're using both fresh and dry, you get dimensions in flavor. And because I mean, to taste some red pepper flakes. So, white beans, fresh oregano, a little bit of dried Italian seasoning, red pepper flakes, salt, pepper, tomatoes. That's it. Except for the next piece that's going to go in here. You take a red onion, mince it up super fine, and then you want to rinse it in cold water several times. Give it a really good rinse. And then, because what it does is by rinsing the cold water out, you end up taking some of the sharpness. Now, I don't want to pickle I don't want the onions to be pickled. I don't want them to be sitting in the water. I just ran them under cold water or even in an ice bath several times so that they would be a little less sharp.
Fredo, thank you so much for liking the live. I can see you popping up, showing us some love. Thank you for that.
All right, so the only thing left to put in this one right now is, of course, olive oil. I am going to put in this, the traditional way is 1 good, healthy tablespoon. I would not normally do this measured, but I'm giving it for you measured. A good, healthy tablespoon of olive oil. And this is where you want your good, this isn't where you're going to want the olive oil that doesn't have any flavor. You want flavored olive oil. You want to taste that greenness, that olivey flavor.
Right.
And 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I love the fact that it's so easy now to find really decent balsamic vinegar. The one thing I tell folks is make sure you're buying vinegar, not glaze, because they are different animals.
Yes.
The glaze is going to be much thicker. It still will taste good, but it's going to be a little bit harder to work with.
I love balsamic on watermelon. That's my favorite treat.
Oh, I have a recipe you're going to love. It's watermelon with feta cheese and prosciutto, balsamic vinegar, and smoked paprika. and it's for a salad. And I've been making it. It was an old Sarah Moulton recipe, and I had come across it, fell in love with it, and now use it as one of my favorite. And I like it because it's just enough of the and it has lemon and lime in it. So as I eat the watermelon, I just keep adding fresh watermelon because the marinade it sits in just keeps getting better and better.
Yes.
All right, so let me taste for first. So
Quality
this is what it's
control.
looking like right now.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
It's super, super fresh, super easy. It's a great, really simple side dish. I could add another tomato if I want to. It would be totally fine. I'm double checking that I didn't forget anything. And the last step on this, I'm going to put some oranges, a little bit of orange
Yum.
zest. You could put lemon zest. I just figured since I have lemon and other things, I'll go a little bit different, and I'm just going to go a little bit of orange zest just to brighten it. You could very much have put in a little bit of lemon juice here to sharpen it. If I were going to make this now sit and marinate, I might do that before I actually served it just to bring it forward. Very subtle. This is super, super subtle.
Jojo's sending you some love. He really likes that orange zest, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny, and I'm not an orange fan normally. And when I eat orange, I want orange. I don't like orange and chocolate. So when I use orange, I want to I love orange and blueberries. I love orange in cheesecake, but I don't like orange and chocolate. I feel like it's a mixed metaphor for me.
I'm clutching my pearls right now. I
Why?
thought I thought we were friends.
Oh, orange and chocolate you love?
Oh, one of my favorite things.
No, I am not a fan of it. I know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'll be honest. And it's funny because Paul loves orange and chocolate, so I'm always buying him things with orange and chocolate, but not me.
Oh, well, Jojo doesn't like orange and chocolate too, so you guys
See?
can go sail off into the sunset together. I'll just eat the rest, okay?
I think it's important to realize we all have different flavor palettes that are natural. And sometimes a combination, and it changes. I didn't like certain things for years, and then one day I had something and it was really good, and I thought, oh, I'll eat it this way. All right. This is just going to sit for a few minutes, kind of marry all the flavor. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to make the sauce
Oh, I'm excited for this.
because then I am going to go back and get this. So the sauce on this, I just want to double check how much
Oh,
butter do I
how is
want.
your focaccia smelling right now?
It's smelling pretty great. Matter of fact, let me check that before I start the sauce.
Just
This
a little,
kitchen,
just a little peek wouldn't hurt.
let me check it. If it's brown, it might be almost done. Oh my God.
Oh, if I was in there with you right now, I'm so
Need a
jealous.
few more minutes because remember, you have the moisture from the cherries on the top, so you have to give it a few more minutes, but it's pretty close. So I've got some unsalted butter.
Oh, Janie, I hear you. You and I, we'll stick together. Two peas in a pod.
Oh, you like that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have and this is not something that needs to cook for very long. Basically, it's just long enough to melt the butter, get the garlic in there.
See, this is what I miss about having a gas stove. Do you hear how fast that pan heated up?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
I'm putting just a little bit of dried Italian seasoning in there because I have it handy. Put a little salt.
Jojo, stop. Stop
But
with the
I gotta
nudge.
tell you, I am this portable. I have gas here, and one of the few things when I went to go move 10 or 12 years ago, I refused to buy a place if it did not have gas, or rent a place that we rent here in the city. I would not rent unless if it. I was willing to sacrifice room, but I wanted gas. Our place in Provincetown has electric, and I hate it. So I love gas. these little propane portable ones are great. I actually end up using this because my gas barbecue grill is out of commission. I have to go buy a new one, and I usually try and do that for my birthday. I'll go buy one. But this is great as an alternative, and I can cook it. I can use it outside, which is what I really love about it. All right,
Yes.
so let's make some madness here. I'm turning the heat off. All I'm doing here is just, okay, butter. Can you see that? Butter,
Gorgeous.
red pepper flakes, a little bit of garlic, some herbs.
And he turned off the heat. He didn't want to burn his garlic.
Yes, garlic is no burning garlic. The butter and the residual pan will be fine. So, what's next here? Let's see what it's going to go. So, here are the potatoes.
Ah! I'm
Can you see
upset.
them?
I'm upset with you right now. It's kind of rude, you
It's going to
know?
get worse. It's going to get worse. Okay, because
I'm
now
writing
I'm going
about
to
you in
take.
my diary.
I just put some. I just put some Parmesan cheese in my butter sauce. Oops.
Oh,
Oh.
oh.
And all I'm going to do now is drizzle the final sauce on this dish.
Yes, Lord. Look at it. Just look at it. I love that plate
And
too.
now, a friend of mine who had a catering company that he closed after COVID, and I bought one or two pieces of each of the size for that, so I have it for TikTok. There you go. Grandmother's potatoes. In these
Grandma
potatoes,
Frank's potatoes.
yeah, pretty much. That's how it feels. These potatoes are so they take about an hour to cook. What you do is you get a thin skin potatoes. If you have thick potato skins like your russets and stuff, what you're gonna probably do is want to peel them, then core them whichever way you like. You can core them with a knife, or you can use an apple core. Either way works. Then stuff a really good quality breakfast sausage. So, you want the flavor in the sausage. You could use, regular ground pork and flavor it yourself. Stuff it in the center, wrap it in bacon, throw it in a little roasting pan at 375 degrees. Make sure you put some water in the bottom of the pan because as it cooks, you don't want it to flame up. And 15 minutes before it's done, you're going to make this butter sauce and you're going to baste the potatoes once and then plate them, put a little bit more of the butter sauce, put a little chives. You have a 1960 inspired retro version of what's called grandmother's potatoes.
It's just straight out of a magazine. Look at it.
All right, so let's get this out of the way for you because I know what's coming up next. I can smell it. So one of the things when you're making doughs and breads, the minute you smell it, get it out of the oven and check it because that's generally when it's done and ready for you. And if you go too much longer, you're going to overcook it.
I'm so excited to see this, you guys. Oh, look at it.
Now this would need to cool about 20, maybe 30, 40 minutes. Let it cool. And then when it's all done, you take a little bit more drizzle of your cherry sauce. Actually, I'm going to put it up here. And then sprinkle it with confectionery sugar, and you are good to go.
It's perfect in
Now,
every way.
I think so. If you, when you go to serve those potatoes, any of that leftover butter mixture, don't leave it in the pan. Put it in a little side dish with a brush. Let people play chef. Let them, add a little bit. What I would do, so like tonight when I serve these for dinner, I will actually put a little bit more butter in here and I'll just heat it up, reheat it up, serve it right alongside so that people can just feel like they're part of the cooking experience because it's just butter and garlic. Last dish out. Oh. So you could serve this white bean mixture as a side dish. It's perfectly lovely as a side dish. It's a really nice summer side dish with some grilled meats. Actually, it would be really super nice with a roast pork. Anything you really want, you could actually serve this with. But say you're entertaining. Guess what else it's great as? A bruschetta. And it's not going to be a super tart bruschetta. It's also just something different if you were going to make like a bruschetta or a buffet tray or an appetizer. Take a little bit of olive oil, put them on some toasted bread, and then just look for the nicer beans. You don't want any crushed beans on a bruschetta because you want people to see it.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And I'll be honest, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", a couple 100 pounds. I don't like finger foods sometimes that are too finicky. So I went with good pieces of toasted breads. I was not having any of those little tiny. But if I were going to do this for a dinner party or a buffet, I would probably use smaller crostinis just because they're easier to serve. But, you could do what you like.
Now, this
Here
is
you
what
go.
I want to see when people say beans on toast.
This is not what you would hear. If you say beans on toast, you're going to get that English version. This is not
It's
that.
sweet, soggy English toast.
A friend of mine loves to make that, and we just get the biggest kick out. He really loves it, and I just find it so humorous. So you have two ways that you can eat this. I'm going to just really quickly do a little bit more chives because that's the herb that I'm using today for most things.
Hi,
And
Purple
because there is a
Rainbow.
and because there's oregano in it, I am putting just a little pretty piece of oregano down the side because I want people to understand what the flavor is. Otherwise, they think there's something wrong. Sometimes when somebody is eating a flavor for the first time, they'll be like, "Ooh, what is this?" They don't realize it's a flavor you're not accustomed to. That's all.
Smart. That's a smart thing to do with floral dishes too.
I do, if I'm going to make something that has lavender in it, always. Or if I'm going to do something that has nuts in it, I will always put one or two pieces of the nut on top so that people who have nut allergies know exactly what's in there. If it's disguised, I want people to know what it is.
Right. Hi, The Righteous Kitchen.
Hey, Righteous Kitchen. All right. So, folks, let me go get the dessert so that you can actually see the full suite here. There we go. That's better.
Hi.
So we made white beans and tomatoes. You can serve it as a bruschetta or as a side dish. We made 1960s grandmother's potatoes, which are potatoes that are stuffed with a breakfast sausage wrapped in bacon, covered in a garlic butter sauce. And actually, that's not too bad. I made a cherry focaccia. One more thing, and then we can talk about some of these recipes, how I would adapt them and serve them. So like I said, all of these were old. They all came from the 60s and 70s. And I am just grabbing the last no-bake guava passion fruit orange pie.
So beautiful. Every part of this. And
This
I
is,
can't wait to see the pictures that you're going to take.
yes, I will be posting those. I'm going to take them before I construct it. Now, in my case, what I'm going to do is I will probably just put just a little different. I'll put a few salted pistachios because this passion dessert has a lot of sugar sweet tones. So I'm just going to put some pistachios. I'm not even going to crunch them up. They're just to give it a little something on top.
I love
You
that.
could put coconut on this if you like. You could put more fruit, but I just want it to. And the reason I'm doing this now is I want it to set a little because I didn't want it to sink to the bottom. You could also crush up more. You could crush up more graham crackers and do that, and it'll give you a crunchy top. So this is today's lunch. I'm going to take this off the camera so that you can actually see it. All right, is that good? So let's see. We've got a no-bake pie. In this pie, this is actually a Cool Whip frozen concentrate. In my case, I used a guava orange passion fruit. You could use pink lemonade and chilled condensed milk. And I laid it out on a graham cracker, put it in the refrigerator. This needs to sit. It'll be ready tonight. These two dishes, let me make sure. Tell me, can you see them both?
Yes.
This is a white bean and tomato. This is done as a side dish or a salad. This is done as a bruschetta on a toast with some olive oil. Both work appropriately. The next one is, of course, my grandmother's potato recipe. I'm just going to add a little bit more because there's something about butter just dripping down potatoes with bacon. They're hollowed out. They're baked with the sausages in the center. A little bit of Parmesan cheese at the end. And then, of course, the last piece is my cherry focaccia bread, which I will then take the remaining syrup that I made and I will pour that in a little pitcher. I'll sprinkle this with confectionery sugar and I'd serve it alongside it once it's cool. And that literally at 12:58 is lunch with me.
The
So,
most epic,
um,
beautiful lunch.
thank you. So, folks, questions. I will get these up on the website, Food Talk TV. We'll have them up in a day or two. This will be my last live with Food Talk TV for a while. I'm stepping back. I'm one of the original crew and spent a lot of time in the last years with the team as it's moving forward. I'll still be working on the website to help continue getting the recipes, but I've got to work on my own channel. I've got some work shifts coming up. So I am going to be stepping out of the Food Talk family, but I'm leaving it in great hands with Kaz and Jess and Ashton and Drea and Vicky, I think, and JoJo and the new talent coming in. If you're interested, please go to the website. We're always looking for new folks, but you'll find me live on my own channel once I hit 1,000 on Kitchen Bear SF. But in the meantime, I am just here. And you never know when I'll pop up again. Things happen. It's not unusual to get a phone call, but you know how to reach me. I hope you enjoyed the lunch with me. Jess, I want to thank you for jumping in. It was great to share and talk about our differences in our food palettes, which I think is always so excited. And everybody else, it's great to see you. I'll be replaying this later so I can actually see the comments. I can't read them from here, but I see roses, I see claps. I love it. Thanks everybody for coming with me every Thursday on my experience with retro lunches. And thanks everybody who joined us.
Thank you so much for everything you've done for everyone here on Food Talk TV.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy everybody. And I can't now. I wonder what's going to make it to the end of the day. I may be eating myself. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.